Hello YouTubers! This is an answer video to James Griffiths, who made an interesting thread called Gimme 10 Female Male Duo Albums. And that's the idea of this video. When I first thought about which albums to show, and I got some inspiration from videos on the same theme that had already been done and shown, I realized, okay, try to find some other albums than the obvious ones. Like my first idea was to bring in Roberta Flack and Donny Hathaway, Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell. But I realized that others would be showing them, and I'm sure others could be showing the ones I'm showing as well. I'm going to show you the 10 I picked now. And let's start with Freddie Mercury and Montserrat Caballé, Barcelona. The famous song that he wrote for her in the latter part of the 80s. I think this was recorded in 88, and I think it was intended to be included in the Barcelona Olympics as a theme song there. But unfortunately, sadly, Freddie Mercury had passed away by the time of the Barcelona Olympics. So there was another song, Amigos para Siempre, with Sarah Brightman and Jose Carreras, I think. Anyway, this is a lovely album, and he really impresses both as a singer and as a composer, and also the voice of Montserrat Caballé is amazing. If you think this looks a bit pale, and maybe you've already noticed that we have some Cyrillic writing, this is a Russian issue from 1993 on the Antrop label. For some reason I only had the Russian issue. I haven't got the original one, but still, this plays fine. Now they are both gone, but the composition Barcelona is amazing. I remember the first time I heard it and I thought, what? As I guess has been the fact many times when people have heard songs by Freddie Mercury for the first time. Okay, that's number one. Let's go to number two, and this is a couple that probably a lot of people already have shown in this series. I'm talking about Ike and Tina Turner. I think I have between a handful or maybe two handful albums with them, and I could have picked anyone. I just picked this randomly. The fantastic Ike and Tina Turner on the Sunset label, which is a subsidiary budget issue label connected to Liberty. Tina Turner's voice, amazing, and I kind of like the stuff that she did with Ike Turner more than, because it was more soul, more bluesy than the stuff she made as a rock singer, as a solo singer. She was great, or is great. Not sure if she's still active. I know she's still alive when this is recorded anyway. But I think the movie about her life, What's Love Got to Do With It, has put a bit of a dark shadow on these recordings, especially when we find out about the way Ike treated her, even though we don't know how bad it really was. But Ike had his big issues, mainly with drugs. But Ike Turner, I'm a great fan of his musical skills, no doubt about that. So Ike and Tina, of course, they sounded good together, even if they may not always have been that happy together. But Ike and Tina. Over to another couple, a bit of a stranger couple, a Brazilian-Belgian couple. Can you have a guess which couple I mean? They only made one album, I think. They may have made more, but I only know of one album that they made together. and it's Ellis Regina and Toots Thielemans. This is an album recorded in Sweden, in Stockholm in 1969. Swedish production. Toots Thielemans was very popular in Sweden because he worked in Sweden for many years, both as a musician and also stage performer. He took part of some musical comedy reviews. And Ellis Regina, the interest for Brazilian music was quite big, quite early in the late 60s. And Ellis Regina appeared, I think, on a Swedish TV show, perhaps maybe even together with Toots Thielemans. And they made this lovely album together. Ellis with her sparkling voice. I mean, like there are sparkles in her voice when she sings. And Toots with his whistling, guitar playing, and the amazing harmonica playing. From what I've heard, this is quite a sought-after album in Brazil, because for many years this wasn't available there. It was very rare. Maybe the Brazilian public didn't even know that she had made an album in Sweden, but this is one on Philips. Right. Okay. Next couple, two great singers. I don't know if they made more than one album together, but this is one anyway. Jackie Wilson and Linda Hopkins, Shake a Hand on Brunswick. This is from Oobly Boobly Boo. I should have checked that before I started. It's on Brunswick. I think it's from the early 60s. Not sure. I have it written down, but I forgot to check it. And they sing gospel, mainly gospel songs like He's Got the Whole World in His Hands, When the Saints Go Marching In, Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, and so on. And I mean, Linda Hopkins, great singer, great artist, but I have a special love for Jackie Wilson's rubber band voice, a very elastic voice that can jump from low tones to high tones like that, and like a bouncing voice. And I've always been a great fan. I first heard in, of course, like many in my generation, in the mid-80s when there was a clay animation video made to his song Reet Petite, at the same time as they made a clay animation video to Nina Simone's My Baby Just Cares For Me. But that's when I first heard his voice. He had already been dead a couple of years then, but made me interested in his voice, and I've been looking for his records since. Back to Sweden. I'm going to show you the couple James Hollingworth and Karin Ljungman, and they made several records together. The records they made together that are most famous today are the ones they did for children, and this is one of their children albums called Barnlåtar. That means children's songs. James Hollingworth and Karin Ljungman, and we have several songs that became very popular here in Sweden for the children. But mostly the song Älgarna demonstrerar. The mooses are protesting against everything that happens in their forest, about all the bad stuff that humans do in the forest. This is from 1974 on CBS, and the great musicians Mike Watson on bass and Roger Palm on drums, both played with ABBA, are joining them on their instruments. Hollingworth, I think, is still fairly active. Karin Ljungman passed away a couple of years ago, but it's a very playful and fun album, and yeah, well worth showing. A great duo. And over to another great Swedish duo, Yaya and Stefan Demert. And this is their first album that they made together. They were both popular as solo artists, and then they started performing together, and then they became a couple as well. Stefan Demert. Let's call him a Swedish Tom Lehrer, but with a guitar and maybe a bit more playful in his lyrics. But he wrote amazingly funny lyrics, funny songs, and Yaya Sundström, well, has mostly been singing songs by other artists and poets, but she has also composed some of the melodies to Stefan Demert's songs. So, very good couple, and I think they made three albums, and they are all worth having. This is the first one. It is not their best one, but it's an album that shows both their faces, because it would be fun to show what they look like if you haven't heard about them, and if you don't come from Sweden, it's very likely that you haven't. This is from 1975, and it's on the label YTF. Yaya Sundström, still active today, performing, even though I think she's close to 80 years old. Stefan Demert, alas, passed away a couple of years ago, but his memory is held very high, especially among those of us who like Swedish songs that are a bit quirky and humorous. Okay, let's stay in Sweden, because that's where I am, and I'm going to start by showing you the back sleeve, or the not the front of the sleeve, but the back of the sleeve. This is Britta Borg, this is Roffe Bengtsson, and they only did one album together. They had different careers. Roffe Bengtsson was more of a comedian and performer, but he also started his career as a singer, and he returned now and then to do some more singing. Britta Borg was a very popular singer, could sing both in a dramatical style and also in a humorous style. She had a lovely, deep, warm alto voice, very bit exotic, and yeah, she gave a really strong impression, and she seemed to be, from what I've seen, a woman with lots of sense of humor too, because she's done a lot of comedy as well. This is their song Andersson på Svensktoppen, and who's Andersson? Well, what's Svensktoppen? Well, that's a Swedish top list that started in 1962. It still exists today, even though the importance of it isn't that big nowadays, but back then it was really important. All the popular Swedish lyrics, pop music, well, not all, that's a bit, well, it was very, very important for many artists and for many bands back then. And Andersson, that's Stig Andersson, or Stickan, was the promoter for ABBA. And I mean, he was a famous promoter even back then. And this is him as a little boy in the early 30s. Not in his early, but in the early 30s. I think he was born in 1930 or 1931, not sure. This album contains songs that he has written and that's been on this Svensktoppen list. And they are sung here by Britta Borg and Roffe Bengtsson. And this is from 1969. And it is, in other words, a bit before ABBA. But the sound engineer on this album is a young guy called Mikael B. Tretov, and he would become the sound engineer on all the ABBA recordings later. That gave the ABBA recordings their very certain and special sound. Okay, 3 more. Let's go to France. Jane Birkin and Serge Gainsbourg. This is the one with Je t'aime, mon non plus. Pardon my French. I don't think I need to say that much about this. I think you are all very familiar with it already, but it's quite something. Right? I think so. Okay, over to a fairly current duet album. It's from 2013, I think. We're talking about the lovely Norah Jones and Billie Joe Armstrong from Green Day. They made an album together called Foreverly, where they made some lovely covers of Everly Brothers songs. And the importance of Everly Brothers and the songs that they made cannot really be. I mean, you can't exaggerate it. I mean, let's talk about the Beach Boys. Let's talk about Simon and Garfunkel. I could also mention Ron Sexsmith and Don Kerr. They made a lovely Everly Brothers style album together. So, I mean, it's not an album that would go to history for being that amazingly creative, but it's a very pleasant listening and a good collaboration, I think. Okay, the last one, and one of my favorites, mainly for the title track. I'm talking about Peggy Scott and JoJo Benson. Soul Shake. Yeah, on the SSS International label, a really groovy label. This is from 1970, I think. 70 or 69, not sure. And the title track by Shelby Singleton, Soul Shack, that really makes me want to shake my soul. And with that, it's time to end this video. Thank you for watching, and have a very nice day, and play lots of records out there. Bye for now.